Good morning. So I wanted to do an addendum to my video yesterday, or Monday, about consciousness and a model of consciousness. And this is about what I believe I'm calling linguistic consciousness on the one hand and connective consciousness on the other. So I'm trying to draw a distinction between two types of consciousness that we are capable of manipulating. So we are conscious of our senses, we are conscious of memories, we are conscious of emotions and intuitions, but then there is also a consciousness that we are able to manipulate. Sorry about the low lighting. It's very early in the morning and I wanted to do this. Anyway. So linguistic consciousness is one of our greatest tools. I don't know exactly how much of it is contingent upon the left hemisphere. It seems like a lot of it is, because when we are doing linguistic work, at least, okay, that's a good point. Depends on how we're using our language. But linguistic consciousness in the left hemisphere enables us to create syllogisms, create arguments, create these tools of rationality that help us to understand a position more completely, to flesh out, to name something. And that's perhaps the biggest point. The point of linguistic consciousness is the capacity to name something. And that, in a sense, packs everything that term means into a very small container that we can then put together with other things. And we can see what's happening once we do that. And you can do this with images as well. If you know if you have a symbol or if you have words to mean something, you can organize things visually in a way that will spark insight and understanding. Oh, this word relates to that word in this context. Word meaning these could be labels on a map of the body, for instance, or of the brain, or of any other complex mechanism. Connective consciousness, I'm kind of describing now. Okay, so they overlap quite a bit. Maybe it's all connective consciousness. That's interesting. Well, at any rate, linguistic consciousness is definitely a part of connective consciousness. Connective consciousness is grasping things together, putting things together. Yeah, okay. So that's the higher order term, and then linguistic consciousness falls under that. Interesting. Okay, learning on the fly. So connective consciousness is what you're doing when you imagine things, when you put images together and see how they relate, when you, which of course will spark unconscious and subconscious material as well. But I'm particularly speaking of what you can do consciously with that. That's a very good point, though, because if you are thinking of maybe I can just move my seat back. How about that, guys? Seat is back. With connective consciousness, especially if you're in, I don't know if I want to argue for flow state. I don't think I know enough about flow state. But if you're in a high order of consciousness, of being able to think quickly and put things together powerfully, then you are going to be capable of reading your intuitions, reading your impulses, reading both left and right hemispheres, and forming everything together. You will need the grasping mind to grasp things together, this connectivity of consciousness, but you will also need the insights and the overlapping of categories that happens in the right hemisphere. Left hemisphere likes to keep everything in tight boxes. Right hemisphere lets things overlap and interconnect and get playful and poetic and analogical. So my point is to be aware of these different states or parts of your states of consciousness so that you can be more capable of using them well. And I think that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.